Discussions of the Third Crusade and our pop culture often seem to conclude that the expedition was a failure because it did not recapture Jerusalem. And yet, historians frequently disagree with this assessment. Thomas Madden says, "The Third Crusade was, by almost any measure, a highly successful expedition." Jonathan Riley Smith wrote that the Third Crusade's achievements were outstanding. Andrew Ehrenkritz concludes that the Treaty of Ramla, which ended the Third Crusade, must be regarded as a humiliating concession the Christian invaders imposed on Islam. So which is it? Was the Third Crusade a success or a failure? The Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem was much larger than the city of Jerusalem itself. It included hinterland castles like Kerak and Montreal, inland cities like Ramla and Tiberias, and a network of coastal cities like Acre, Caesarea, and Jaffa. After the Battle of Hattin in 1187, Saladin, the Sultan of Egypt and Damascus, conquered virtually all of this. In response to this devastation of the Crusader kingdom, Pope Gregory VIII called the Third Crusade. When Richard the Lionheart, the primary leader of the Third Crusade, arrived in Palestine with his army in 1191, he found the kingdom of Jerusalem, as it existed prior to Saladin's conquests, all but lost. Only the port city of Tyre remained in Christian hands. But Richard began to reverse many of Saladin's important gains. Acre, the wealthiest and largest port city, was reconquered by the Christians. Next, Richard defeated Saladin at the Battle of Arsuf, re-establishing Crusader control of much of the coast and allowing the Christians to reoccupy Jaffa, the port city nearest to Jerusalem. At this point, Richard made 2 military demonstrations toward Jerusalem, though he never actually attempted to recapture the city. Richard's navy allowed him to dominate the coast and keep his army well supplied, but Jerusalem lay far inland, where Saladin had the advantage. Therefore, Richard determined that Jerusalem was not a viable military target at this time. The holy city of Jerusalem was the spiritual fixation of the crusade. The fact that Richard was unable to capture it was a disappointment to the Christian world. But does this mean that the Third Crusade was a failure? In fact, the Third Crusade succeeded in several important ways. As mentioned earlier, Saladin had essentially captured the whole of the kingdom, but Richard's conquests re-established Crusader control of some of the most important territory in Palestine. Saladin attempted to reverse this situation, besieging Jaffa in 1192, but Richard repulsed this attack, defeating Saladin soundly at the Battle of Jaffa. Prior to the Third Crusade, Saladin had been poised to exterminate the Crusader presence in Palestine. But by the end of the Third Crusade, he was forced to recognize Richard's conquests in the Treaty of Ramla. Saladin's servant and biographer, Baha ad-Din, tells us that Saladin was very unhappy about this treaty. "Our enemy will grow strong now that they have retained these lands," the Sultan lamented. We can see then how the Third Crusade was a reverse for Saladin, since he lost control of the economically important Palestinian coast. And although the Third Crusade did not regain Jerusalem, it did regain Acre, Jaffa, and other coastal cities. So overall, it was a net positive for the Christians. In addition to the territory he reclaimed from Saladin, Richard also captured the island of Cyprus off the coast of Syria for the Crusaders. Cyprus was both economically and strategically important, and its addition to Crusader territory was one of the most significant achievements of the Third Crusade. We can see then why historians tend to judge the Third Crusade as overall a success for the Christians.